I don't know about you, but when I learned about Costco or any of those large warehouse companies, I was thrilled to have a place to go that was a one-stop shop for not only fresh produce, but dry goods, prepared foods, clothes. Yes, some of my favorite workout tops and bottoms, underwear, and let's not forget about socks, come from Costco. And then there's the pharmacy. I was in heaven, thinking I only needed to go to one place, eat a few samples. Yes, I'm a samples lover, and prior to COVID-19, knew the specific times to go and eat my entire lunch throughout their sample selection. In fact, I had coffee with a single friend the other day, and she joined Costco. Are you ready for this? Just for their hot dogs. I can't really comment on that, but I burst out laughing. But I actually understood. Costco filled a need for many of us, whether we had big families and could store the huge packages of toilet paper, paper towel, and a multitude of frozen and dried foods for the foreseeable future, and then for potential emergencies, or whether our families were small or we were solo, as in my friend who loves their hot dogs. And then there was Costco gas. It just couldn't get any better. One-stop shopping is a kind of nirvana. It makes our busy lives so much easier and more streamlined. So let's take this concept to our work lives. Don't we see advertisements like, as an example, Staples, where you just push a button that says easy? I don't know who came up with that, but it was brilliant. Our collective goal is sometimes to get good enough quality for a good price and with the ultimate convenience. When we want to be a connoisseur, we may go to a specialty shop or to experts in our respective fields. Well, what if I told you you could get both? One-stop shopping at a reduced rate or no cost at all, and experts in the field who have vetted resources and are giving them to you for free. Yep, I said free. Welcome to Small and Gutsy, our podcast featuring nonprofits and social enterprises under $10 million. My name is Dr. Laura Shirk-Witkoff, and I'm excited and proud to be your host. We hope you'll love the stories as much as we do, and perhaps you will find needed services, a job, volunteer, invest in, or donate. Small and Gutsy is not just a podcast, but a 501c3 nonprofit. Our vision is to spotlight every smaller nonprofit and social enterprise to raise their visibility. So please help me with our vision and send me any organization you'd like featured to Laura at smallandgutsy.org. I've been working for, around, and now am an executive director of a very small nonprofit, Small and Gutsy. And I can tell you that in the many, many years I have been connected to the nonprofit sector, I've rarely come across folks who are not in need of resources. Certainly monetarily, that doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out. But you would be really surprised at the limitations of their resource treasure chest. This is, of course, often due to their size. Most folks are way too busy doing the direct work of serving clients to focus on the necessity of sustainability. Even with the larger nonprofits, they can be caught up in the specifics of their departments and not have a view of the organization as a whole, and not often see opportunities or connections. Giving these nonprofits resources that are easily accessible and are all in one spot is ideal for giving them the tools for sustainability. Okay, drum roll please. Enter the one-stop shop for all nonprofits. The Nonprofit Cooperative is a nonprofit where their business model gives back to nonprofits every single day for free. Yep, that's what I said, for free. Their website is filled with resources from human resource information, fundraising, insurance, proposal writing, workshops, networking, webinars, blogs of interest, vetted resources in the business community, and our very own Small and Gutsy podcast page for any nonprofit that wants to take advantage of recording their own interview, all for free. So, in a way, Small and Gutsy has not just welcomed them into the Small and Gutsy family, but has become a partner organization to continue our goal of serving nonprofits as well. I am beyond excited to introduce my guest today, who's already been a resource for me, Danette O'Connell, founder and executive director of the Nonprofit Cooperative. She is a seasoned professional with a wealth of experience in helping nonprofit organizations achieve their goals. Her dedication to nonprofit transformation is a central focus of her career, and she excels in managing all aspects of this process. I am so grateful for her. So let's get started. Welcome, Danette. You have a significant business background. I would love to know sort of what inspired you to give back in this way. And we as Small and Gutsy are benefiting. So wherever you want to start, whatever makes sense, I'm just so happy to have you join the Small and Gutsy family and be a partner for us as well.
Well, thank you for having me. This is really exciting. So, how I started is I actually came from the tech industry and wanted to get out as a woman. It's a very tough industry, and I wanted to give back. So, I sold my tech company, and I have been in the nonprofit arena for over 20 years now. And so, serving nonprofits throughout the United States. And I was frustrated with councils of the world that was charging nonprofits a membership fee and then charging them for training and then charging them to network. And I was just like, unrestricted funds are so hard for nonprofits to come by.
Yep.
And council should not be taking that money. So what I decided to do is I started a membership organization to provide all of those services 100% free. Everything we do is free for nonprofits. And also, one of the big things that we also do besides training and collaboration and funding is we vet businesses that our nonprofits can use. So they go through, all of our business members are vetted through our committee and then through our board, myself, the committee, then the board. So they go through a big vetting process to ensure that they do what they say that they do and that they're good at that. So then nonprofits can come to us and say, hey, I'm looking for an accountant. We are confident to put our reputation on it, that we've done our due diligence of vetting our accountants. And so we feel comfortable recommending them. And it saves the nonprofit tons of time. They don't have to go and interview 3 accountants or, vet them themselves. We've already done that for them. So we've taken it one step further, just because when you go to council's websites, then if you want an accountant, there's 20 accountants. Well, how do you know which one's good and which one's bad?
Right.
You don't.
That's right.
So we've taken all that guessing work out of it.
I love your model so much. Well, first of all, it joins my philosophy of wanting to give back. And you nailed it. When I was in my doctoral program and sort of doing messaging for nonprofits and COVID hit, and I started this podcast, I really struggled with the concept of how do I help nonprofits be able to elevate themselves? And exactly what you're talking about. When you go to any of these organizations, they charge you. And these nonprofits, the ones that I, focus on, are really so small and they're too busy doing all this other stuff. So the fact that you've made it, I hate to make the analogy to Costco, but you're the Costco of nonprofits.
It is.
You really are. You have a wealth of resources. So I'd love for you to break down, you have so many, and you may highlight a few, but I know you have webinars, I know you have networking, I know you have HR resources. You just mentioned accountants and businesses that you've already vetted, which is phenomenal because, boy, does that take a lot of time for a nonprofit to do all that research. So walk me through a few of those areas. And your website, by the way, is phenomenal. I encourage everybody to go check it out.
Thank you. So we start off with training. So we have which is the most popular, is our workshops. And those teach you from strategic planning all the way to hiring and everything in between. So we teach you how to do a strategic plan, how to build your board, how to create budgets, how to present to your board, your CRM, how do you get donors, and how to brand, how to message. So we do everything and all operations. So finance, benefits for your employees if you have employees. So the workshop takes you all the way through. We have 2 tracks, which is one's for grassroots organizations. One is a little bit more advanced.
I love that. You have 2 tracks, which really speaks to sort of the size differentiation. Correct. And the grassroots one sometimes get overwhelmed if they go to something that's too high level and don't think it relates to them. So you have really managed to accommodate any nonprofit and at any size.
That is correct. So we want to make sure that nobody gets lost in our training, right? So we want to make sure that the grassroots, and even the larger nonprofits aren't sitting at 101. So we wanted to make sure that we created 2 tracks for everyone. We also have Ask the Expert, where we bring in nonprofit leaders to come and tell their stories on whatever the topic shall be. And we also have social entrepreneurship. We teach nonprofits that nonprofits are a business. Nonprofit is a tax status. And they have to be run that way in order for them to grow. So, and I think that's a common mistake that some nonprofits make. So we teach them, and also make sure you have a strategic plan. As I always say, would you ever drive across the United States without a map?
Yeah.
Well, you should never start a nonprofit or a business without a strategic plan. So you have to know where you're going, where you are now, where are you going, and how are you going to get there? Because that's important to know how you're going to get to your end results. I do a strategic plan and I update it every year of my past and my future. So I think it's really important. We also have a private social network. I call it our own little Facebook.
I love it.
So everyone can go there and register for events there. They can chat with other nonprofits. We're all about collaboration and making sure that everybody is collaborating because, nonprofits collaborating can be so powerful. You can do events together. You can apply for grants together. There's plenty of people in this world to help. So, don't look at other nonprofits as a competitor. Look at them as a partner. And that will help you network with other nonprofits.
I love that philosophy, and it too often goes unnoticed. I think there is this feeling out there, or at least historically, that there is competition for dollars. And what you're saying is, look, there's enough money to go around. You just have to figure out a way to join forces and be able to go after it together. And what I really appreciate is most nonprofits have their niche area. And so why spread outside of that? Just partner with somebody who does it well and go after the money that accommodates both. So I love that philosophy. And I have yet to take advantage of all of your resources, as you know. But that's going to be in my pipeline because I really love the strategic planning idea. I have a vision, but have I really written it down? Have I really thought about it? Have I really engaged my board and my stakeholders? And the answer is not really. So I need to do it. So I'm learning too. This is a growing experience.
It's a little time consuming, but it actually helps you think through every process of your business. It really helps you do that when you're writing it down, because then you're thinking about, okay, well, what about this? And what about that? And how am I going to grow?
Right.
So that's really important to go through that thought process. Even if you only do it once, they should be working documents. They should never be create them and let them sit on the shelf.
Right.
But even if you do it in the very beginning and go through the entire process of creating it, then it forces you. How are you going to do your branding? How are you going to reach out to your donors? Who are you serving? All of that. And it may be in your head, but you have to share it with other people like your board.
Yeah.
So that's really, really important to be able to do.
It's so true what you're saying. And I feel like, again, so many of us very small ones are so busy actually doing the work, we don't take the time. And yet, I also think that it informs your decision making. So if you have, and I've done strategic planning for other organizations, it's so funny we're talking about it. But what's so clear to me is you have a strategic plan that does have to be a living document. And then every decision you make is either in line with your strategic plan or outside of it. And you get to make that determination if you're thinking, what is this going to look like in 3 years? What's it going to look like in 5 years? Whatever your time frame is. So I love that. I would love to hear, you've been in the sector for a long time. What are some of those aha moments you've had with organizations, nonprofits specifically, but it could be businesses, where they're either surprised by something or you're surprised by something that they come back with, or there's something that comes up with a networking thing? Any story you want to share, because I am sure you have a lot of them.
Oh, I do. So I think the biggest thing that surprised me as we're talking about strategic plans is how many nonprofits don't have strategic plans.
I know.
And I was really shocked. We were on a call and our nonprofit only meet and greets. There are only nonprofits who are allowed there. We had an event and I asked everyone to raise their hand who has a strategic plan. And one person raised their hand. And I was like, what? And that's when I came up with, would you drive across the United States without a map? And of course, the answer would be no, you'd get lost.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing for strategic planning. It is your map to end results, right? It's your map to growth. It's knowing how you're going to get to the end result of where you want to go. And also break it down year after year. You know, some people will say, do a 3-year strategic plan. They are fairy tales. Do a 1-year strategic plan because it's going to change over time and you're going to adjust this. That's why they're working documents and you're going to adjust it year after year because even like us, like we create new programs, I eliminate some programs. So every year my plan is changing. And that's not a bad thing. That's an entrepreneur,
Right.
right? It's really thinking outside that box and how do we do this, right? So it's okay if it changes over time. If it didn't change, that would concern me, right? Like it should always be changing because the world is evolving,
Right.
right? And you have to evolve with it.
Yeah, and very quickly. Things change, especially with technology, so quickly. When I first started doing strategic plans, it was 3 years, and it was 5 years, and it was 18 months. And I love that you said a year. I love that. Because you also get to reflect on what did you accomplish out of that over the past year? What's still on the table and what has changed as a result of what our current environment is? And so you get to ask those questions, which I think is fabulous.
Yes.
I have to say, sort of not surprising that only one person said they had a strategic plan. And yet, I think how you've inspired me since we've met is to make some significant changes with Small and Gutsy, and I'm grateful for that.
Thank you.
When you're in it and doing it, you can't take a step back and see it. And then when someone says, well, what about this? Or you thought about that? Or this is what I'm concerned about. I'm like, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about it. And so that's really been a huge eye-opener for me personally. And then I'm in the throes of beginning to take advantage of all the resources that you offer.
And that is one of the things that even I have been in this industry for over 20 years, and I still ask our nonprofits every summer, we send out a survey of what do you want to hear? What do you want us to do, right? And sometimes I'm shocked about that. And I'm like, oh, okay, so let's do that, right? Or something like I hear that only one person out of 50 are doing strategic plans, then I know, okay, we need to implement this because we have to teach this. They may not know that they need it, but like we started a social entrepreneurship program. And it's important to teach people that nonprofits are businesses. We may call them, the job titles may be a little different. We may get our income a little different. But at the end of the day, they're still businesses. That's why you incorporate them, because they are businesses. And people think, well, we're a nonprofit. We don't have to do strategic plans or we don't have to run it like a business. Well, then you're not going to be able to grow it. And I can guarantee you, if you are able to grow without a strategic plan and without running it like a business, then I'd be completely 100% shocked that you were able to do that, because 99% of nonprofits will not be able to make it past their third year. You'll be able to start, but you're just going to keep stalling out and stalling out. And that's why we created the workshops to teach you how to do it, and the social entrepreneurship program. And it's teaching you how to lay the building blocks in order to grow organizations. I've started over 7 businesses throughout my career, so I definitely know what I'm talking about.
I love this for many, many reasons. But I think, and that's why I included social enterprises in my podcasting, not just the smaller nonprofits. I love the social entrepreneurship model because you're talking about not just sustainability, but also legacy moving forward. If you want it to grow and sustain, and your mission is very clear of what, or your vision and then your mission in order to get closer to your vision, it has to be driven like a business. And we forget that. I remember when I was early on in my career in the nonprofit sector, one of my kids, who's actually an entrepreneur, which is kind of funny, he said to me, Mom, why would you ever work in the nonprofit sector? Because you don't make a profit. And I said, no, it doesn't work that way. But it was so funny. And he's my entrepreneur as a kid. So he was already thinking this doesn't make sense in the title or the name. What you said is so significant. That is just a tax category. It doesn't mean you aren't a business. And so giving those business strategies is essential for this sector. And I love what you're teaching people. It's great.
It is totally essential. And I hear this over and over. When I first got into the nonprofit, I had gone into a bunch of schools and they're like, well, we can't make profit. Because I went in there to find out why they weren't able to grow. So I was analyzing them. And I was like, why don't you put profit in these services? And they're like, well, we're a nonprofit. I started laughing. I'm like, well, you have rent, you have utilities, you have overhead, and you have to pay for it somehow. And how you do that, I said, let's just put the word profits aside. Let's call it a margin.
Great.
You have to have margin in every one of your services so that you can take that money and pay your operations and put it in a fund for future growth. And I tell all nonprofits, even if you put $50 a month away, $50, that's all. Let's start small, right? Then put it into a savings account and never touch that, right? And just every single month you put money into that fund. And some people are like, oh, we're living paycheck to paycheck. You'll never be able to grow if you don't put money aside. And people keep saying, I will, right?
Yeah.
But you have to do it in order for you to do that. And I'm not saying do it year 1 or year 2, but like year 3, you should be starting to put money into a savings account. And like I said, start small, $50, right? And then once you get a little bigger, $100. And then just keep doing that. And you'll be shocked on how to grow. But again, if you don't have your strategic plan and you're not running your organization like a business, that's not going to help you.
Right. So true. But I love, again, what you said, because it's really doable. You're creating steps that are really doable and don't feel so overwhelming. And someone doesn't have to go all the way from A to Z in the beginning and put in thousands of dollars to save when they're trying to operate. So I love that. In doing my doctoral work on messaging, you can't use public dollars to market. And so that was how this whole thing started initially. And I remember thinking, what business on the face of this earth survives without any kind of marketing? And that's why I ended up in sort of this arena, because I thought it doesn't make sense. Just the way that you said, look, I come from a business background, and no business survives without having the proper infrastructure, which includes strategic planning. It includes, in this case, board development. It includes networking. It includes all of these things that allow a nonprofit to be profitable in order to survive. And I remember years ago, I don't remember exactly when, the law changed where nonprofits could then keep a reserve, because what they were noticing is nonprofits were ultimately going out of business and their clients were suffering. So they allowed them to keep a reserve. And so there is this opportunity. I always wanted to push back on our political system to try to get just a small 5 to 10% of any of those public grants to be used for marketing. But, I don't think there's an interest. And I think it's because how the nonprofit sector developed, how it, came into fruition. So it's interesting.
You can use unrestricted funds for marketing.
Right, but not designated.
Yeah. So if a grant is, $10,000 and they give you $15,000 to use unrestricted, then you can use that towards your marketing. And just back real quick, I just want to say on the strategic planning, some people get overwhelmed with that because they think it should be 20 pages long. Let me tell you, mine is 6 pages long. I'm very straight to the point.
Good.
So it doesn't have to be this huge, large, back in the day, they say, business plans / strategic plans, which there's pretty much the same thing. They should be 50 pages long. Let me tell you, no one's reading that and you're never going to go back to it. Keep it small, 6, 10 pages. That's all you need. They don't have to be huge documents.
I love that because I think, again, it's just like your savings plan. It's doable, it's realistic, it's manageable. When people hear strategic plan, they think it's going to take months and months and months and months, and that they have this document and then it sits on a shelf, which I have also seen with some nonprofits, rather than brought out, used at every. In fact, I would encourage people at every board meeting to pull out their strategic plan, especially the headlines or the summary or however you organize it, and say, where are we in this? Let's look from maybe not month to month, but quarter to quarter, depending upon how often you meet. So I love that. I think it's so doable and it's so realistic and so essential.
And putting a timeline in the strategic plan is really important to do. So if you put a 1-year timeline in there, when you're going to reach those goals, and then just take that timeline to your board meeting.
Perfect.
And then you don't have to review the whole document. And then at the end of the year, look at the document, see what you've accomplished and what you still need to accomplish, and write those down for the board at the end of the year. And then you're going to roll that forward of the things that didn't get done, or things that you want to add or things you want to change, right? So we're always evolving. So.
Yeah, I love that because it creates so much flexibility based on what both the nonprofit is experiencing, but also the environment, as we talked about before, which I think is just fabulous. So when you did that networking meeting and you found out that only one person had done a strategic plan. How do you then outreach to folks to say, hey, we should put more effort into this because clearly these folks are not taking advantage of this resource or don't know that they should? So how do you do that?
So we do constant outreach to our nonprofit associates. We have over 6,400 nonprofits. So we're constantly communicating with them through email. Here's the strategic plan when it's coming up. So we post everything on our website to know what's coming up 3 months. So we try to do 3 months out. So we have a schedule for 3 months and what's coming up next.
Right.
And then we just have a pathline of our workshops.
Yeah, that's great.
And any other training. We have a lot more than just workshops. We have the Ask the Expert. We have lunch and learns. So lunch and learns are really unique. We had one today at noon. A lunch and learn is where our business members come and do a sales pitch to the nonprofits, but you're in a group, so you don't feel that one-on-one. So if you want to learn more about our members, is come to our lunch and learns and see what their expertise is and see if this is what you want to use. But you're not obligated to do anything. And, sometimes one-on-one sales calls, you feel a little like, oh, I have to say yes, or you feel a little awkward saying no. You don't have to do either one of them.
I love that.
You don't have to say yes. You don't have to say no. All you have to do is come and listen to them, see if you're interested. If you are, you are. If you're not, move on, right? But we give you that opportunity so that it's not an awkwardness on there. And we have a lot of networking events. But one thing I forgot to tell you is we have 2 large nonprofit fundraising summits. And we teach you all the different ways to fundraise. And they're really out of the box thinking. We know that our government is cutting funds. And so that really puts the pressure on the nonprofits on how to, if you have government grants, some people don't, majority of people don't have government grants. But it really teaches you in today's day and age on all the different ways to fundraise. So we have some nonprofits that are coming to tell their stories on how they did it, right? And so we have some small nonprofits, larger nonprofits, but we have experts in the field to come and talk, especially about AI. There's that changes every hour.
So true.
And then we will have a technology one in operations. So we'll talk about all the different technology and how do we manage all of that technology and can they talk to each other? So teach you how to efficiently work with all of your applications and make sure that they're not overlapping.
I love that. Once those events happen, do you then have them recorded so they stay on your website so that if someone isn't able to attend, they can at least watch and garner information as well?
Yes, we record every session and then we put them out on our social network for life.
Perfect.
And you can go back and you can look at them. So they have their own little place out there. So we put them by year and the month that they have taken place so that you can look at the latest ones. Or if you say, hey, I listened to this guy at the last summit and I want to go back and look at that recording, you can do that. So they're permanently out there.
I love that.
And then we have swag bags. So we have a lot of different raffles. We're raffling off tons of stuff.
So
I have 2 pages of raffles.
I love it. It's great.
So all kinds of free stuff. And also you get 30 days free donor search for attending the summit. So anyone who attends the summit gets 30 days of donor search for free.
Tell us what that means exactly.
So Donor Search is a company that has a database of potential donors. These are people who have donated in the past. And so you can look them up by industry or by your mission or whatever. So there's hundreds of thousands of people out there. I'm sure there's probably millions. And you can go out there and search people that could possibly donate to us. And then you can download that information and then use that for potential donors.
That's great.
And so with a 30-day free trial, you go in there, you can search all these donors, get their information, and then contact them for any future donors.
That's great.
So normally Donor Search charges $5,000 for a year subscription, and you're getting 30 days for free. So work it every day. I think you can only log in like 10 times, which is a huge amount of time. So you can go in there. There are some restrictions to that, but it's golden, right? Like that's worth a lot of money. And we have Grant Station that's going to be there. Grant Station is a grant database where the other one, Donor Search, is individual donors. Grant Station is grants. So there's two different types of database. So we want to give you all the
I love
tools
it.
to be able to fundraise because that is the biggest struggle of
For
nonprofits
sure.
is fundraising.
Yeah. So you do summits twice a year?
So we have a fundraising summit in the spring and the fall, and then we are introducing a technology operations one in May.
So you may end up with 3 if that one goes really well because technology changes so quickly, I would imagine.
Correct. In the future, we'll probably have 3. We have reached out to our nonprofits and they want to learn about different technologies that they can use, what's out there. So we're creating a database of different software packages and having those people come and talk about their software in an educational way.
Yeah, this is so great because it isn't salesy. There's a sales component. Obviously, there has to be, but it's really information. And then a nonprofit can choose what would fit for them or not. It's just great information to have. So, of the companies that you vet, how many members do you have? And it sounds like you invite them to different things and they are a huge support of what you're doing because they can get business, but also because it's sort of a great thing to do.
Yeah. So all of our members are businesses that serve the nonprofit community. And so as we talk, they are pre-vetted and they come in and we promote them out to the nonprofits. But also they come in and do all of our training. So they're an expert within their industry. So the accountants come in. I always use accountants because everybody needs an accountant.
Right.
So they come in and teach you how to do budgets. How do you use QuickBooks with budgets? And how do you present your budget to your board throughout the year? You know, so it's a budget at the beginning, but then it's budget versus actual as we go along. So they come in and they teach all of these types of tools for the nonprofits to learn from. Then we have the lunch and learn. So they're a very important part of our organization because we serve nonprofits for free. Their membership help us pay for our operations to be able to run.
To be able to give this to the nonprofit sector that needs it.
Exactly. So it's really important for our nonprofit members to use these vetted, trusted members because they help pay for this organization to give to you for free.
Yeah, which is amazing. It's a great model. It's like an amazing business model as far as I'm concerned because you're respecting the nonprofit sector and the limits that exist. You started it because nonprofits were being charged in a way that you didn't agree with, and I agree with you. And then being able to use a business community that serves nonprofits anyway benefits them and certainly benefits the nonprofits and provides education, which everybody needs.
Right.
So I love that pronged approach. I think it's absolutely phenomenal. I don't know if you want to mention, because on the screen is the Nonprofit Collective Foundation. So I'd love for you to mention that and just tell us what that is.
So the Nonprofit Collective Foundation is an organization that I started to provide unrestricted funds to nonprofits. So we raise money to give money is what we do. And we have different programs. So we have the incubator program for grassroots organizations. We give them money for technology to help them pay for any resources or tools that they may need. And then they're matched with a mentor and they go through our one-year workshops.
Great.
So we never give money without training.
Of course. So it's great.
Right. So I came from the tech industry and the startup boom. So we don't just hand money out. We want to help you, with your organization also. So it's not all about just the money. So, and then we also have the giving tank, and it's just like Shark Tank for nonprofits.
Love it.
So there'll be a panel of funders that will open up for applications. So we still have to do pre-vetting, and then we'll ask you to come and pitch to the nonprofit.
Love it so much.
Very exciting. Yes.
And can those applications and things be found on the Nonprofit Cooperative website, or do you go to a different website?
So you go to the Nonprofit Collective Foundation website, the ncf-foundation.org. The applications are not open. When they're open, you'll see the application at the bottom of the page under nonprofits. But when it's closed, you can't see that. And right now they're closed.
Great.
We'll be opening them in spring so that we can be able to provide those.
Great.
So
I'm going to post on our social media both so that, nonprofits are aware of the other resource that you have, which is absolutely beautiful. I love that you're doing that. And I 100% agree. When you give money, you're offering to teach along with money, with expectations and accountability as part of that structure. And I think you have to, like, you just have to. So I think it's a beautiful model, and it goes hand in hand with the resources that you're already giving away for free. So it's a beautiful add-on that you've come up with. It's impressive, really impressive.
Thank you. And the best thing that they really, really like is the mentor.
Yeah, of
So they get a
course.
mentor for 1 year that they can just pick up the phone and ask that person questions, and which has just been absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
So
And where do your mentors generally come from? Do they come from the business community or the nonprofit community, or any sort of both?
nonprofits, they're
Ah,
all of our
nonprofit.
mentors are nonprofit
It's
leaders.
so great.
So they're usually from a bigger organization. They've been in the industry for 20 years. And they want to give back. They want to help the grassroots organizations grow. And so they say, well, this is how we did it. So they're usually executive directors, but some of them are like chief operating officers or some leadership role
Yeah.
within the organization.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you are nationally based, so you serve the entire US.
We are nationally based. Our over 6,400 nonprofits are throughout the United States, but we actually are global. We don't fund global, but we are in 7 different countries. It's a small percentage of that 6,400. So some of them are from India, some of them are from Africa, Europe.
I've done this too. So mine is global as well because I interview people all over the world. But usually the 501(c)(3) is based in the US, or I have one in Canada. So I sort of base them on their criteria of how they fit into our structure. And then usually they can be all over the world, which is exciting and wonderful.
And we are in Canada too. We are throughout the United States and in Canada. That's where we're predominantly. We actually have some members in Canada also, but they work here in the United States.
That's great. Really great. And how many business members do you have? How large is your business membership?
We have 40 business members.
It's amazing.
Well, actually 41, because we just approved another one. So 41. And we'll never be hundreds and thousands of members because that's not what we want.
Right.
We are split up into 6 zones. And so every member is exclusive to their industry per zone.
Perfect.
So we'll only have 6 accountants, 6 auditors. We'll only have that many and no more. That is by design.
Mhm. I love it because, again, you can vet them thoroughly, number one, rather than just accepting anybody in. And the second is it gives them the opportunity to step up and really be the educator and the influencer and probably the service individual or company for that nonprofit region, or for the nonprofit that's in that region, which is really great. So I love that you've designed it that way and been so specific about it. It really speaks to your strategic planning head and how you think about things, which has already taught me. So I'm so grateful. So I would love to go back to stories, and this may be, but it might put you on the spot. You don't tell me the organization, but I would love to hear if there is a story of an organization that maybe was struggling and kind of sort of a little all over the place, and then was really able to use the nonprofit cooperative, and you saw progress and change. And you could say small and gutsy because we're already starting, but go with one you already have seen the results.
There's actually a lot of them. They're so nice that they come back and tell us. And we do a survey, an impact survey every year on what impact we're making on nonprofits.
Beautiful.
And so they'll tell us this changed. We, do strategic planning now, or, our accounting our budgeting, it looks a lot different. And so, but they come back and they tell us all the time, that how it impacts their organization and how they've been able to grow. And so it's really exciting. And that's what keeps me going every day is just, I hear these stories and I see how many nonprofits. I was a consultant before I started these organizations, and I was only able to help like 3, 4 organizations at a time. And I was like, I have to be able to touch more lives, So that was my own personal mission. So that's why I created these. So I actually started out on Long Island and New York City, and I started one there. But we were limited to those 2 areas. So I really wanted to go national to help more nonprofits across the United States. So our goal is 10,000 this year in my strategic plan.
I'll be checking in with you in a year. No, I'm teasing you.
But it's more about the numbers, right? It's more than how many nonprofits we have. It's how many lives are we changing and how many nonprofits we are helping. to grow their organization, to help their mission,
Right.
and who's collaborating with other nonprofits, right? So I used to do nonprofit mergers, and any nonprofit that thinks that they can't go on anymore and they want to close their doors, and I always tell them, don't close your doors. Let someone else take over your clientele, because you're serving a community and
Right.
we still want to serve them, even though you're not able to continue on. So, you can just keep on going, and, maybe they'll hire you, right? So there's just so many different ways that you can really touch nonprofits. And I get excited when they come back and they put testimonials on
Yeah,
our
love
website,
that.
and the surveys really help. Not only that, we learn what programs are working and what programs are not by their response. And, I always thank the nonprofits for filling out those surveys, because they're really important to our future. And as a good entrepreneur, I listen.
You do.
Because that's how we're able to do better. Nobody has 100% efficiency in what they do. So there's always room for growth, and there's always room for improvement. And I love to improve. And that's how we learn, is through our nonprofits. They're teaching me and I'm teaching them.
Yeah, it's a beautiful two-way street. I absolutely love it. And what I hear, it's so interesting because I know you're business minded. I know you're technology. Like, I get that you were in the tech world, and giving back is now so incredibly ingrained in sort of who you are as a person. And what I hear is the depth of your sort of belief and motivation. Like, it doesn't escape me that you believe in the people you serve. They may just need a tweak here or there, or they may need to think about something differently, but you are all about, let's put this into practice. Let's have some ideas. And as you said, you listen. And that combination is just a gift. The money will flow. It sounds like you certainly have to be conscientious about it and strategic about it, as you've talked about, right? And at the same time, it doesn't drive you in the same way, or you would just accept any business partner, and you don't. And I admire and appreciate what you have created and what you're doing. It's really remarkable.
Thank you very much. Yeah, we are very excited about what we're doing and the nonprofits that we serve and how we serve them. And we just really want to get the word out there and have them come and join the nonprofit cooperative. It is free. There's no tricks, nothing hidden behind the curtain, as we say. It is 100% free, and we never charge our nonprofits. Now, of course, the business services are free. What is free on the business services is that we vet for free. So the attorneys, the accountants, they're still going to charge you. So I'm sorry.
Of course, but they have to. I mean, that's their business. And it doesn't look, you're getting an education, and you're also saving time by you've done the vetting.
Right.
So I can't imagine anyone expecting that those services would be free, unless
don't.
you're lucky enough to have an attorney and an accountant and so on your board who happen to do it. But most people want to have some outside support that they can rely on for objectivity and so on and so forth. But I think it is a phenomenal model. And as you said before, councils and things that you knew, and I certainly have known, they always charged. And for a tiny nonprofit, it was really hard to say, okay, which workshop do I choose? How much can I afford to pay for this? And so on and so forth. And you really take that out of the anxiety of a smaller nonprofit, or probably any size, because multiple people can attend your workshops from the same organization, which is really great.
And just because it's free does not mean that the quality is less.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yep.
We do it for free because that's what I'm passionate about doing, is providing free resources to nonprofits. It doesn't mean that the quality is any less.
Yeah, I love that so much. And you've also mentioned before that the organizations or the individuals who serve as the experts often come from either been in the nonprofit sector forever, like as the mentor, or from the business community, and they're not doing it as a sales pitch. That may be part, but they're really doing it for education. And so you've already vetted the quality of those individuals.
And you'd be shocked at how many consultants we have that were EDs in nonprofits. And they wanted to give back, and they wanted to serve more nonprofits, so they became consultants.
I love it.
And that's
so
what I
much.
did. Like, I wanted to take my business experience after I sold my tech company and come in and teach nonprofits how to run nonprofits like a business. And I just started out doing consulting and internationally. So I visited several countries around the world. And it was an education space first and then international. And this was such a pain point for me. How can you keep charging these nonprofits? And it's not a small fee.
Right.
It's hundreds of dollars for one membership organization. If you want to join 4 of them, then you're talking $1,000 a year.
Right. It's expensive. And that's why I think what the model you came up with is so brilliant. So toward the end of my podcast, I have a round of quick and gutsy questions that are fun. And often we get a few little pieces of wisdom or pearls, I like to say. So if you are ready for the quick and gutsies, here we go. Okay. What is at the top of your wish list for the nonprofit cooperative, but the answer can't be money or funding, which I realize is not really part of your strategy anyway. And you've already said you'd like to grow to 6,000. So I'm going to take that off. So is there another top of your wish list?
Yeah, to serve more nonprofits throughout the United States and around the world. And I know this is pulling in the foundation into your question, but to be able to fund as many nonprofits as we possibly can. I'd love to get more funding so that we can really help the nonprofits.
So I'm going to, because it's a non-funding quote question, what I'm going to sort of edit a tiny little bit, and I want you to bring in the Nonprofit Collective Foundation because it's a beautiful thing that you have and that you've created, is that will say you want more partners in that arena. So people who recognize it, see the value of it, want to be part of it in some way. So we'll do a shout out to the business community and maybe some donors who are interested in being part of it in a way. That's my little momentary editing for the funding question. But it's important, and what you've created in that is fabulous. I encourage all nonprofits to go look at that when there is an open application and apply. It never hurts to formulate a vision and thought, especially sort of in that entrepreneurial space that includes the sustainability, or a pitch to create a pitch deck on what you're doing and how to present it is all incredibly valuable.
Yeah, because they learn how to do pitch decks. And also we're always looking for panelists for the giving tank. So if there's somebody out there, that could be an individual. We have an individual who wants to participate, or it could be a foundation or a company. It doesn't make a difference. So we're always looking for panelists for this round and for our next round.
Yeah, that's so great. And it's fun. It sounds like it's
it's so much fun. Yeah, we got to have fun with it.
You have to have fun with it. So if you were to think of a song, and you could answer for both if you want to, for the nonprofit cooperative, and you can do a second song if you want to, or they might be the same song for the Nonprofit Collective Foundation, what would those songs be, or a song?
Just giving back. I don't know what more to say.
Yeah, you will find a song that has to do with giving back, okay? I think that's good. That'll be your theme song.
Okay.
Tell me, what do you think makes the nonprofit cooperative gutsy? Because you're gutsy. What makes it gutsy?
Probably my entrepreneur thinking. So I'm a true entrepreneur. So risk is not a bad thing for me. I always take risk. And because sometimes risk comes with big reward, right? And so, sometimes my risks are a little too much, but I don't have limits. When you start a tech company in the tech startup boom, that's gutsy. And that's kind of what this is. This is out of the box thinking. Nobody else is doing this. We're providing free resources. And this was such a risk. And this was gutsy to do because you're going against the grain. And that's okay. I'm okay with that, right? I'm okay giving free membership to nonprofits to do the training that, some councils or big organizations are doing by charging.
And some nonprofit experts who've written books, who've started organizations that are nonprofits, charge as well. So I'm like, this is amazing. I think you're gutsy, and I love what you said about risk-taking. So I think that your risk-taking is probably based in some calculation because you're that forward-thinking, and you're practiced at it, which is also what you're telling those of us in the nonprofit sector, is you do this through practice. So a strategic plan is practice. And so I love that model because you only get better at something if you listen, as you talked about, and you practice. And that's why the feedback loop is so important. I can't say enough good things. I'm just so happy I met you.
Thank you. That's so sweet.
It's so true. What is something that outsiders or even a few insiders don't know about the nonprofit cooperative? What are still some of those questions, some of those things that outsiders don't know, but maybe even a few insiders don't know about you?
You know, people who know me, I am an open book. I am transparent and I'm very straight to the point.
I
But
like that.
That's good, right? It's all about
really good.
transparency. So if I'm thinking of an idea, I run it by the nonprofits. And what do you guys think? You know, like
That's so
we'll have an
great.
event and I'll be like, this is what we're thinking about. What do you guys think that how it works out? So I am always asking, probably at a lot of our events, I'm asking them, well, how should we do this? And how should we do that? And there is no big secret.
I love what you said because folks may not realize, insiders, you know, and maybe our outsiders and a few insiders may not realize that the feedback loop for you is essential. That's what I heard.
It
in that.
is.
That you ask and that you're a cooperative that is collaborative. It can be sort of one and the same, but they're different because a cooperative is we all working together. A collaborative is you are seeking input from the folks you serve on a regular basis, and it's a great model. And I think maybe some outsiders don't really understand that you're just not creating this stuff, but you're really doing it in partnership. I love that, whether it's your idea or somebody from your board or some nonprofit that said, hey, I'd really love information on this. I love that openness.
And our board is very creative thinking. So what I'll do is I'll take, if the nonprofit says, hey, you should start this program, and I'll take the program to the board and I'll have an outline of what I think it's gonna look like. And we'll brainstorm it. Like both of our boards are brainstorming this month on different things. On different sides, we're brainstorming different things. And so we have these brainstorming sessions. And sometimes, you know, I'll start the program and then I'll take it to the board and they finish it collectively.
Beautiful.
We'll say, well, let's do this instead of that. And I take that like constructive criticism. Like that's what keeps me going. And that's how we perfect our trainings and our programs. So I heavily rely on my board. They are very active on both boards. We have had the blessing of some, you know, we're still growing boards. So anybody who'd like to sit on our boards, you know, just let us know. But that's what we really do. So I don't sit there and just report out to the board on what I've done. We really collaborate and brainstorm together.
I love it because it's really the definition of a working board in terms of outputs that you want to create. And you're getting your feedback from your community, putting it into practice and saying, hey, let's fine tune this. And I also think that when you think about critical feedback or constructive feedback, it's really to make the product better. And it's sort of a trial and error piece. And I love that you're so open with that and that they can be back and forth disagreement, which makes for a better product. I've always thought the more vantage points you bring in to a product, the better the product is ultimately going to be because you've considered all of these aspects and you're doing it.
Right, and even if they don't work out, we've had 2 programs that did not work out that we implemented and we just weren't getting the results in one. And then the other one it was a fundraising program, but we did the summits instead. So we didn't want to do that program and the summits simultaneously. So we cut that program just because we're doing it in a different form, not because it wasn't. And the other one was for the members and it didn't work out. And we analyze them, we evaluate them every quarter to say, okay, what's working, what's not working. So we're constantly doing that with our programs to see what is.
I think that's a great example of best practice iteration. I love that. And it's what some of my doctoral work was in, is that iterating model is you don't have to throw it all out. You may change it and sometimes you'll tweak it and put it into something else that is better serving your nonprofit. So I just think that's so wise in so many ways, because if you don't iterate, it's sort of being, when you talked about flexibility before, you aren't keeping up with the needs that are out there, nor with the environment. So they are not always synonymous, yeah.
And not only that, it's really important for nonprofits, for everybody, in my opinion, is that you listen to others and not it's your way or the highway.
Right.
Because there's always different ways to do things bigger, better, and faster, right?
Yeah.
And so take advice from other people. I have a whole board. We have 13 people on our board, and I listen to them. I listen to our 6,400 nonprofits, right? Like, it's okay to take advice from other people It's not all about, well, this is how I had it planned. Well, a true entrepreneur will be flexible. It's just like
Yes,
that
great
strategic
point.
plan. You have to be flexible and things are going to change and you have to accept change, right? The world is evolving, so you have to evolve with it. So, the business plan and listening to others, it's crucial.
It's so funny. I used to do workshops and training, and I have to tell you this one little story because it so fits into that. There was, I think this was on National Public Radio or something. There was a story that was told, and a little girl was watching her mom make a roast and put it in a pan, and the mother was cutting off the ends of the roast before she puts it in the pan. And the little girl said, "Mom, how come you're cutting off the ends of the roast?" And she said, "Gosh, I don't know. Let's call Grandma. That's how she always did it." And so they call Grammy on the phone, and the mother says, "Hey, Mom, daughter wants to know, why'd you always cut the ends of the roast off?" And the grandmother and the mother started laughing. She said, "Honey, I did that because I had a small pan." So it just shows you that people do things because they're maybe taught a way or they think it's way, and they don't think about changing or out of the box thinking or iterating in a certain way. And I just love that story because so many of us get stuck in that space.
Right.
Instead of thinking, how can we do it differently? Let's think about this. And you're a great example of that. And so I love you being part of this Small and Gutsy family. So last quick and gutsy question.
Okay.
If you could get one celebrity or influencer to endorse or talk about the nonprofit cooperative, who might that be?
I've been trying to get her forever, Mackenzie Scott.
Oh, yeah. She'd be perfect.
She
in
is
every
all
way.
about unrestricted funds and the importance of unrestricted funds. And she gets it. And I'd love for her to come on and even just put money aside. Her knowledge and her heart and how she wants to give back to the nonprofit community in unrestricted funds. People don't understand how important unrestricted funds are for nonprofits. And so to be able to provide that would be absolutely wonderful.
I mean, I love that answer because it's really why I did the messaging piece in my doctoral work and why I came up with Small and Gutsy. Because marketing cannot be paid for by restricted funds, by public dollars. It's illegal to do that. And so you're exactly right. If you can't trust the nonprofit to use the money wisely, and they can outline exactly how they're going to use it, they know where they need that money to be put. And in my area, if you can't market the work that you're doing, nobody knows about it. So nonprofits never have a problem getting clients because you can use public money to do outreach, right? So they have an abundance of clients, but they don't have an abundance of people who know about them, who can actually support them either in kind or financially. So I love that. So any other last comments? And what is the best way for folks to reach you?
So the best way to reach me is by the URLs, the websites that are above my head, either one of the organizations. And if you go to contact us, there's info at Nonprofit Cooperative and info at ncf-foundation.org. They both go to me directly. My assistant may pick up some emails and help, but besides that, they do go to me. And we do read every email that we get. So reach out to me, even if you have any questions. If you go to the Nonprofit Cooperative under nonprofits, there's a registration. Nonprofits do have to register there. Just fill out the form, upload your logo. I'm not going to do anything crazy with your logo other than promote your organization. So I get emails, "What are you going to do with my logo?" I'm like, "Promote you."
Right.
So
I would get emails, "Well, are you going to make us buy the podcast after you record it?" I go, "No, of course not."
Yeah.
But I understand that because people have
They're
been hurt.
protective.
Yeah, they're very protective. So I love that. And I can attest because I have a page on your website to promote people who are small, meet my criteria under 10 million, who'd like a podcast. They get a podcast. And now you've experienced your very own podcast.
Yes, and we're excited.
And I just want to thank you for spending the time with me, Danette. This has been, as always with you, an education, great information. Your energy and motivation for doing good in this way is so palpable, and I really appreciate you.
Well, thank you very much. And it's been wonderful being here and having a little chat with you. And we're excited to have you on our website. And if you go under partners, you'll be able to see Laura's podcast and feel free to join there. So we'd love to bring more people into the Gutsy family.
I love it. I absolutely love it. And on my website, you will also see the nonprofit Cooperative as one of our partners. And I am thrilled to partner with you in this way. It's just a wonderful exchange of good vibes, great motivation,
Knowledge.
and knowledge. Perfect. Perfectly said. So thank you. Please go to smallandgutsy.org to check out all of our episodes. And if you're so inclined, please purchase some Small and Gutsy merchandise, consider sponsoring an episode, or making a donation. Both are tax deductible and help keep us going and spotlighting these great organizations. The opinions and viewpoints expressed by our guests are independent and don't reflect the position or views of Small and Gutsy. Of course, we can't take responsibility outside of our own vetting of the organizations we interview, so before you sign on to support or work for them, we encourage you to do your own due diligence and research them as well. I want to thank my partners in this endeavor, the Intrinsic Group, the donors, the sponsors, and my incredible board of directors, Brianna Carmichael, John Gatto, Lucy Mello, Ari McCoy, Melissa Greitz, and Serena Rajabian, who believed in me in this project enough so to sign on to support this effort, and all the folks, friends, and family who have guided and inspired me. And thank you for listening. Together, we are spreading social impact, and you can help us. If you like this podcast, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to email me the name of any organization you feel would benefit from being interviewed. From small and gutsy to big with impact. I'm Dr. Laura Shirk-Witkoff, and thanks for listening.